Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, and anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor. 6 titles on my broadcast today. And the first one is a question. You want a certification from me? I tried to deliver that more deadpan. You want a certification from me. So you wrote and so you inquired about. And again, I apologize that my language is not your native language, and thank you for reaching into mine to get a connection between us. So when I wrote that title down, my comments to that notion of you want a certification from me? Outlandish, preposterous, unthinkable, ridiculous. And what a notion to have a certification from me. And why would you ask that? And what do you envision the certification to encompass? And how much do you want to pay for it? And how important do you want it to be in your education as a Pilates instructor, I guess. Maybe just practitioner. I have to tell you that I think it's very insightful for you to want a certification from me. And I don't mean to poo-poo it and turn away from your interest in that certification. But it's like if you're serious about the certification, just make use of what's already there and show that you're capable of implementing what I've made available to you already. And that can certainly be a solid foundation for the certification you're seeking from me. So number 2, I had the thought, I wrote it down, I thought it meant something, I still do, but I'm not sure what. And is the title still worthy of sharing if there's no expansion beyond it being a title? Maybe it's in the nature of the title, because the title is that self-absorbed is human nature. Self-absorbed is being human nature. And of course I recognize and I know that as human beings we escape some spectrum of being self-absorbed to include ourselves in the interest and care for all of humanity, being one among all, right? But even in that, there's self-absorption in that without making that connection, it leaves the self-absorbed part short. I should have just left it a title. Number 3. Sick Pilates. Isn't that an interesting juxtaposition of words? Sick Pilates. And I only mention it because when Ariana Grande's suitor suggested marriage and then sent her images of diamond rings that he liked, when she replied back that she loved all of them, his reply was sick. And so in that context, sick is something that just is going beyond belief or has you in this total place of excitement and synchronicity, right? Of vibrations and harmonies coming into play, right? The chemistry that we feed off of, can really and sometimes be really sick. And in that regard, sick Pilates is when it's really just consuming and it's so in tune and you can connect with it so much. That's how I take it to mean. Sick Pilates. And then the second half of that title was Thornbird Pilates, because once you're going to start naming Pilates by certain characteristics, why not just have at it? And perhaps you're aware of the novel The Thornbirds, and the myth of the bird impaling itself on a thorn out of its love, or for its love. And so Thornbird Pilates is when you impale yourselves upon it out of your passion for it. There, that's pretty good. Number 4. Can you survive the tsunami of Pilates passion, and by that I also mean competition, remaining in the womb of tradition? Can you survive the tsunami of Pilates passion, remaining in the womb of tradition? And what else is there is an obvious choice to respond to that question to a question. How do you survive in the womb? Can you survive? Okay. Thank you for waiting. See, what to me appears to others as threatening in explaining there's an ideal within Pilates is really the cavalry coming to protect you from everything else that makes Pilates something other than what it is. And allows you to stay within the classical tradition of whatever, Joe, as you want. As I've said often, and I'm saying again here very poorly, is that nothing will change as the ideal within Joe's work becomes more obvious. It will only become more obvious to everyone, and in being that, everyone's claim to distinction will still be the same within the context of the ideal that supports it all. And to the extent of surviving as a Pilates instructor, whether you like it or not, it's at least nice to know that there's a point of view out there. And to the extent that you're familiar with it, you can use your knowledge of it to defend yourself against others across the spectrum who aren't aware of it or who are aware of it, right? You just use the ideal as a buoy to navigate by in this ocean of points of view of Pilates. And Pilates can be pretty sick, right? To me, the classical Pilates, or whatever tradition you want to cling to, and however you want to define it, classical or authentic, all of that's good and valuable. But it will only have merit based on its resonance to the ideal within Joe's original work, right? No one, not Joe himself, or anyone that knew Joe, or knew somebody that knew Joe, ad infinitum. To me, my point of view, an ideal point of view, the ideal within Pilates which Joe illuminated, right? And I'd say he illuminated rather than created, because yes, he choreographed the sequence, but that is in response to the stage. Okay? What's the stage? The stage is gravity, right? What's the response? Well, given other things like life and how things unfold in time, conditioning and preparation for what's coming is insightful, right? So the deal with understanding the idea is that as much as you wish to stay within the womb of tradition, it may end up placing you somewhere on the spectrum you don't want to be, which is more toward historical reenactment than being a Pilates instructor that understands it as a language and speaks it as such. And that's not even counting all of the other parts of the spectrum where Pilates is just represented as exercises, as things that you do for issues, right? Without any clarification or definition of context, by sequentiality, by choreography. I suspect, how about that? I suspect that surviving in the womb will work just fine in terms of limiting your interest solely to your heritage of the tradition and your handing down of it. There's historical reenactment, and there's implementation in an ideal, and those are points on a spectrum that I advise you at least be aware of and know where you're participating in it, so that you know your vulnerabilities in terms of lack of prestige and aristocratic weave, or lack of understanding and ability to deliver the sensation, even assuming that there is a sensation. Number 5, It's going to be a tough broadcast coming up. It's a tough broadcast here coming now. How do you eat an elephant? So you want to be certified by me? You know, that's a pretty big elephant. But if you're serious about it, let your actions speak louder than your expressions. And take my course on Udemy. Use my course to go out and make money for yourself, and then give me some of it if you want, or not. But if you want to then use my trademark to help you make more money making the presentation, then we need an agreement where we both make money because of you're using the association of my trademark to the information that you already know and you're giving. Leave my trademark out of it. If that works for you and that's what you can afford, go do that. But definitely don't use my trademark and not have an agreement with me beforehand. I have an international attorney law firm, and they're really expensive. And they're very good. Very good. How do you eat an elephant? One step at a time. Take my course. Specifically, memorize 5 things. And then send a video of you obviously able to recite what you memorized. What are the 5 things? Joe's definition, Joe's promise, Joe's sequence, the ideas definition, and the definition of core new tension. Those 5 things. 3 from Joe, 2 from me. The biggest thing for me is core new tension. And the definition of that is oppositional rotation between axes. And it's that will get traction, I think, first. And by virtue of the traction, that the obviousness of the biomechanics being pointed to is there and tappable intentionally, that will gain more attention or light to this ideal point of view of Pilates. So why do I share that with you? I share that with you so that you know that the major thing to get from me is core new tension. It's applicable to every human being. It's the biodynamics of the way the body, the biology, accomplishes the physics. And that's acknowledging or identifying the way the body works, and that's uniquely in and of itself. So that just, I think, is a fact of the biology. And the Michael Miller point of view is just one view out of thousands, right? Everybody has a point of view of Pilates. And everyone is more than interested in sharing what they have from the tradition they learned it from, but unaware or unwilling or uninterested in this perspective of MMP, which is an ideal look at Pilates. And, you know, when you think about it, there's a lot of reasons why that is. So number 6, my last one, I think I've already said really is how to certify. We'll show you know. Faint interest, right? Is unlikely to get much of a response from me or from anyone from whom you wish to say that you know something about something. Thank you for your interest in watching. Life can't live forever. And that's another consideration when you go looking for certification. Read between the lines, see behind the curtain, add two and two, direct your thinking and your observing. Geist.